Welcome to our third installment of Ezekiel chapter 35. This session is dealing with the enemy still. The first one, if you remember, was the enemy hates God. The second one was the enemy hates God's people. And this one is that the enemy hates the land promised to God's people. Are we seeing that in play today? Just a thought as I looked at this particular passage, thinking about it, thought about it, I'm looking at the scriptures. We can see that in in today's world, in what is happening today, is it that they hate the land that was promised to God's people, even though they don't know it? The war, the fighting that's going on down in the Middle East today. We know that they hate the Israelis. We know that they hate the Jews. The Jews have been hated for many, many years. Part of the story or part of the account of history of our modern day history is that around in the Second World War, that war, part of it was blamed on the Jews. Hitler went about trying to exterminate Jews, which was the most horrific act in human history, really. So we know that. We're aware that, they are called Zionists, aren't they? And they more or less link Zionists with us as Christians. We are known as Zionists. What we don't have, it probably in a very real sense, like it could be something that could be debated and spoken of many times over. I think that would be good if someone or a group of people could look at that. We don't have a land that we can call our own, if you understand what my train of thought here. But the Jews can. The Jews have a land in which they can say it is theirs because it was promised to their descendants long ago. A covenant was made between the Creator, Adonai, Elohim, and Abraham. So that covenant is still in force today. And they're trying to get rid of those who are on the land, such as the Israelis, so that they can get it. But do they really want it? Is it that they need? Is it that they want the land? I don't know. That's a question that you could look at. Or is it that they just don't want God's people, Abraham's children, or grandchildren, or great grandchildren, or Jacob's children, to have the land? What is it? What's the case? Anyway, let's read verses 10 and 11 of Ezekiel chapter 35. I'll read from the KJV, then I'll read from the Jewish text. Because thou hast said, these two nations and these two countries shall be mine, and we will possess it, whereas the Lord was there. Therefore, as I live, said the Lord God, I will even do according to thine anger and according to thine envy, which thou hast used out of thy hatred against them. And I will make myself known among them when I have judged thee. The Jewish text as this. Let's read verses 10 and 11 of chapter 35. Because you say, these two nations, these two countries will be mine, we will take possession of them, even though Adonai is there. Therefore, as I live, swears Adonai Elohim, I will deal with you as your anger and envy arising from your hatred deserve, and I will make myself known among them when I judge you. That's verse 10 and 11. Therefore, as I live, listen to what Adonai Elohim, the Almighty, the Lord Almighty, says. I will deal with you as your anger and envy arises from your hatred deserve, and I will make myself known among them when I judge you. Now, we are aware that here God is has spoken to Ezekiel to communicate to Edom or the Edomites what God is going to do to them. Now, am I wrong? Would I be wrong again to even extend it further to say that that's how God is going to deal with the ungodly in the time of the end? Because obviously the ungodly hates God's people. The ungodly hates God, the God of the people. And now they even hate that which God has given to them, which in the time of Ezekiel and in the time of during this period of time, let us say, even though we know it's far longer and larger than in the time of Ezekiel. However, we know that God had promised Abraham and his seed, Isaac, Jacob, and the 12 sons of Jacob, leading down to the multiplicity of now sons and daughters, which is now at this place here. Now we know that they're being judged because of their sins, because of their trespass. We know that. Remember, Ezekiel and those who are with him are exiled in Babylon. We're aware of that. They are not in the land of promise. They've been there for quite a while now. Now, there are some who are in Judah, Jerusalem, but Nebuchadnezzar has gone in. During this time now, Nebuchadnezzar has gone in. He has destroyed the temple. He has destroyed the city of God, Jerusalem. And the land has been totally ravished, in a sense, if I can use that term. However, there is a remnant. Part of the covenant that God made with Israel and the land was that there will always be a remnant. God will never or will not totally wipe out the children of Judah with all the wrongs that they committed. He wouldn't do that. So let's clear that up. All right, let's just bring some sense to all of that, if you understand. And I'm sure many of you are Bible students. So he's talking to the Edomites, because even when Nebuchadnezzar went in and did what he did, the Edomites were there in the background. They were just picking, so like some animals, the great big beasts of the field come and do what they do, but we have little scavengers around the place, just getting nitpicking at whatever is left. That was what Edom had done before, and I'm sure that's what they were doing now. But they had provoked God to such an extent that God was going to bring judgment to Edom. God was going to wipe out Edom. And remember, with the strength of hatred, malice, envy, with all of them things there, really in the heart of the Edomites. And let me use one word here, and you'll understand, because he's the father, really. With all of that penned up in the heart of Esau, God was going to use that very same hate, envy, malice, the destructive force that was within him. God was going to use that to bring judgment on themselves. Because listen to what they said. I think the Jewish text says it so well in verse 10. He says here, because you say these two nations, these two countries, here he's talking about, I would believe that he's speaking here about the northern and southern kingdoms. There were countries, there were nations, yes, but they were one. I could be wrong. So I'll do some further readings on this just to clear up that little anomaly that I've said here. But let me just say here, they say, Esau said, the Edomites were saying, these two nations, these two countries will be mine. We will take possession of them, even though Adonai is there. So they were so rude that even the God, the Creator, the Lord, the Sovereign Lord, even though he was on the land, he was amongst his people, they didn't care about that. They said, okay, he's down there, but we're going to take possession of them. Isn't that what the enemy of our day is saying? Hasn't he said that already? I believe, my friend, that we ought to really consider the days that we're living in. Because the gods of this world, I would even say the God of this world, he is so rude, he is so, he's filled with malice and hatred of God against God's people, that he will want to come in, even though God is amongst his people. He is saying to himself and to those around him, listen, Adonai is weak. Adonai is here, but we take no notice of him. Down through the generations, the Edomites always believed that the land of Israel belonged to them. What is it about it today also? As they saw it, the only reason their nation did not possess the land was because Jacob had stolen it. So remember, this is a deep, long, deep-seated situation in their lives. It was something that for centuries, hundreds of years before they came, had taken place. And probably Esau had not even properly dealt with it with his children. So he left the situation with them. He caused it to fester. He didn't deal with these things. And here, Esau is long gone, but Esau is still there. I hope you're following me. I really hope you're following. And that, this situation here is very much significant with the situation in our world today. And when I say in the world, not only in what's happening down there in the Middle East. Remember, I believe, as I've said before, that is the timepiece for every Christian today. I believe if we look on that situation, we ought to have an idea. I'm not saying I know exactly where we are in Scripture. Certain things are coming to pass. Certain things are being done and said, and I think that we have to be mindful, be very mindful of what's going on. So I'm not too exacting of what's going on here. But I believe, my friends, looking at the situation of our world today, seeing that we have an enemy, there is an enemy that is coming upon us, that is here right now. He is putting his army in array against us, against God. They're taking no notice of it. And so we ought to be very careful, very mindful. As a consequence here, the Edomites, covetousness and greed, the Lord would judge them, and his justice would be perfect. The Edomites would reap exactly what they had sown. They had sown anger and envy. And these are the things that are very, very much in our world today. Don't you think so? If it is there, it's there. It's against us. It's against us. We're fighting two fronts here, I believe. One, there's a war, a very physical, natural war going on in Israel there, which I believe I'm not a part of Israel. I'm not an Israelite in that sense. I haven't got arms. I haven't got any guns. I haven't got any knives or machetes as such to find. But I do believe, my friend, I believe that there is some connection between us and them. But on the other hand, or on the other side of the coin, we're very much fighting a spiritual war. There is a war that is going on that we are not really physically involved, but spiritually we are there. Now, I would really love. This is an area. This here has opened up a lot of things in my mind. Even as I talk, even as I speak with you, there is so much that's going on, and I'm handicapped in a lot of things. Really, to tell the truth, I'm not as good or as perfect or as versatile as many of you are there, but I'm trusting that the Lord will help me to understand and to be able to communicate that which is going on in my head right now. Since I have read this and what I recognize and know what's going on out there in the world, it is only God really that is going to have to help us. Remember the sword. Remember in one of the chapters before now, when God said to Ezekiel that he's going to that Pharaoh had a sword in his hand, but he's going to break the arms of Pharaoh. My friends, our God has a sword. The arms of the enemy are going to be broken. They are powerless when it comes in relation to the Lord. So may God bless you anyway. May God bless you. Remember that the land, whatever is promised to you, you will receive it. The enemy is going to fight hard for you to lose that which God has promised you, me, us. But God is going to raise the standard with whatever force that the enemy is going to use against us. That same force, according to verses 10 and 11 of Ezekiel 35, is going to come against them, and they're going to be destroyed. With their anger, with their envy, with their malice, God is going to destroy the enemy. So may God bless you. Be strong and be encouraged.